in a world confusing out there, trying to identify, see people, what they are, who they are, just so we can keep ourselves safe. Constantly looking at analyzing, letting the fight run over us at all times. Looking at one of our things that we have to always keep an eye out on is what type of Christians are we dealing with? Candy has a great idea on this today. She's going to lead us down this path and see where we go. We're giving her the steering wheel, letting her drive an episode today, telling us the two types of Christians in the world, who they are, what they consist of, what they do. Friend or foe? We don't know. One probably is a foe, asshole. So we're going to give the keys over to the car. Let Candy drive for a while.
What are you talking about?
I have no idea where we're going on this. You just dropped this on me 2 minutes ago. So
you didn't have something to talk about. So
I had a couple ideas, and then you fired a few at me and then said, nope, this is what we're talking about. So,
yeah, I did do that, I guess.
So I guess this is what we're going to talk about and see where it goes. So, all right. So today, this is a reverse stone. Candy's leading us.
Reverse stone? How about just sometimes I do and sometimes you do? What?
That's what I
are you saying right now?
That's what they say.
Backtrack what you're saying right now, buddy.
That's what they say on the dollop when Gareth leads one. It's a reverse dollop. So you're leading this one.
I'm not leading it. You're still going to have to lead it.
I refuse. I have no idea where this is kind of like our Christian marriage. You lead it. I have no idea what I'm doing here.
Let me lead it. You lead it. Why aren't you leading it?
You're the one with the idea. You're the one that had the thoughts.
I'll throw some things up and then we'll just see where it goes. It'll go somewhere. I don't ever even really think of you as leading. You just started.
You never have.
Even when we
were Christian.
You start. Not because I think I'm leading. See, this is what you think. We're getting into like marriage talk. We haven't even started the episode. Let's just start.
Today on Drop the Stones.
Hi, I'm Candy.
And I'm Dan.
And you're listening to Drop the Stones,
a weekly podcast brought to you by...
apparently only led by men, by Dan.
By Menon.
It's backwards if I lead it.
It's not backwards, it's reversed.
Which is backwards. When you go reverse in your car, you're going backwards.
Unless you were going backwards when you're going forwards, then you're going forwards when you're reverse.
Don't even try to what kind of twisted word salad is this, buddy?
You are trying to twist all sorts. I was
no, you are twisting it.
Comment
Innocent.
This was Candy's idea to bring it out. I was referring to another podcast when Gareth leads the episodes over Dave. We call it a reverse dollop. They switch roles for a little bit. Saying, you are my equal. You share on this journey as much as anyone else.
When a man says that to a woman, it can be taken very differently.
The episode right? Showed that break. Says things can continue on all the way through.
When a white male says to another white male, it's reversed. You're in charge. Okay, it's what did you call it? A reverse one. Like the normal way is him leading. We're going to reverse it and he'll be leading, right? You can say that to another white male. You could say that to another male. But when you say that to a woman, it kind of it takes on a different tone.
I'm just treating you as an equal in my life.
But it's coming through my lens where I've been considered less than you.
You don't consider yourself equal?
Not by you, but
we're equal in this.
We are equal in this, buddy.
Well, all right. So just to show the equality between the genders, we have
no, don't make me do anything. I don't want to lead.
A woman-specific advertisement today.
Oh, okay.
This is an episode sponsored by Proverbial Prophets, the only MLM disguised as a Bible study. Join a sisterhood of faith-driven girl bosses selling anointed collagen, holy oils, and God-approved gut health kits.
This better not be a real thing that you're doing as a joke, because I don't want people giving this place money.
This is our advertiser. Yes, we do want to give money. It's not a pyramid scheme. It's a Proverbs 31 based.
It does kind of sound like a pyramid scheme.
Opportunity. Use code BLESSED10 for 10% off your starter scroll. Because salvation is free, but financial freedom? That's $399 and a vision board away. Proverbial profits.
Okay. You can make a vision board on your own for free.
Yeah, I have so many vision boards hanging up around the house.
Well, you could do them on Pinterest too. Pinterest are vision boards, basically.
Pinterest?
I use Pinterest all the
I
time.
know you
okay?
do. You
And
send me
it's a
you
vision
send me
board, just real
projects all the
specific for each
time.
thing.
You get a Pinterest and you're like, oh, you could build this.
Yeah.
How about you
Where are the
incorporate
things?
this into
You've
our
built
house?
some of the things. I've used Pinterest. There's so much stuff in our house that I have used Pinterest for.
Yeah, we know. We all know.
It's probably the best platform, in my opinion, but I also do not market on it.
Yeah.
Which I could.
And that's why the kids call you a white girl.
Why?
Because you're Pinterest.
Because I like Pinterest?
It's one of your characteristics.
That's not why the girls call me a white girl. They call me a white girl for probably lots of reasons. Because I like pumpkin spice lattes or something, which I do.
That's true. All right. So, leader, lead us.
No, don't even.
What two types of Christians are there in the world?
Okay, let's ease into it. My God.
You know how I am. I'm just hammering away right off the beginning. This is how it's done.
Okay. So
That's
I said there's two types of
taught
Christian.
Me. Just go for it.
Go for it. It's all about you anyways, buddy.
No warm up, just go.
Two types of Christians. Okay, so we were of the type of Christian that genuinely believed in that, like, we were waiting for Jesus to return. I don't know. You weren't this type of Christian when I met you. You were a Christian because you're a Catholic, right?
Well, someone consider me a Christian.
Yeah. But yeah, because this type of Christian that I'm going to talk about first doesn't consider anybody who doesn't believe like them actually Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I was evangelical, fundamentalist kind of Christian. All right. Yeah. So we thought
with a strong dosage of razzmatazz put into charismatic. Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely had that.
So I remember your dad saying that. I'm a charismatic.
Did he say that? Did he go around saying that?
Remember that Bible study that we led when we were the 20-year-olds leading all the 60-year-olds in the Bible study?
Oh, because they're at that church, they were not charismatic, and my dad didn't like that. Yeah. So he didn't go to Sunday church there. He just went to the Wednesday Bible study that he led or tried to lead, right?
Yeah.
So
we ended up leading.
Well, yeah.
And everyone was your parents' age in there.
Taught them all about retirement that we had no clue about at 20. We were like 23, 4. Yeah. Oh, God. So, and actually, we didn't teach them. You taught them. I just had to print the papers up and whatever. You had to, that burden was on you. And I'm sorry, that was probably a real sucky situation for you.
Well, I loved it. It got me to show off my credentials.
And I remember listening. I'm just going to be really honest with you here.
You've already said this, so say it again.
I don't think I've said it to you. Yeah, when you did your prayer study, I didn't learn anything.
Yeah.
I was like, this is so boring.
Yes, most of my study. You probably said that to yourself after the Easter episode.
Last week?
2 weeks ago. Sarah was last week.
No, I think I learned some things because I was able to spin off of it in conversation. But in that Bible study, I had to be quiet and just like go along and stick to the curriculum. And it was boring AF.
It was a 6-week long
Plus, I didn't
study.
know as much as I know now. Like, I wasn't able to, like, speak up for myself at the time. I would have just been like, because I probably had lots of questions or, yeah, I'm sure I did. And it was just like, nope, you can't ask that question. You just had to, that's so boring. Anyway, so these types of Christians also were probably very closely linked to the Jerry Falwells, those who, I always say Jerry Falwell, but any of those guys back when the government said, hey, you can't be segregating anymore and get tax exempt status, right? Yeah. So they were basically, they took away their right to have slaves or enslaved people, right? Yeah. They took away their right to do that, which then they lost money, right? They have to now pay for at least a machine to do what they had people doing, correct? So Now they're pissed at the government for that. Then the government says, oh, yeah, and you want tax exempt status? Well, you can no longer segregate. You have to, like, everybody's got to be able to go to school, the same schools and everything. And so then that's when they were like, we're going to take over the government. And they started with abortion and all these topics that they could win a whole group of people, right?
Abortion and homophobia, yes.
So these are conservative Christians. They want to go backward.
Yes.
They want to conserve what was.
Yes.
Then you have your progressive Christians, which I don't know that you would have been a progressive, but maybe. Like, you would have been more open to, like, well, maybe, and it's okay, like LGBTQ. You wouldn't have been like, no. I don't know. Were you?
I would have been open to some change, but still holding on to conservative values.
Okay, but if the Pope moved, would you move with the Pope? Like, if he changed his mind, were you just like, fine, whatever?
Yeah, I didn't really. I mean, you're talking about my Catholic ways? Yeah, I really didn't give a shit.
Okay, what about your parents now, when the Pope is like more LGBTQ inclusive?
They'd probably be more open in some social issues. Some things they would definitely not be open in.
Okay, I don't know if they would be the entirely progressive, but like, there were I know some Methodists that would be considered progressive. Any of these churches that would have rainbow flags outside and stuff like that, they'd be considered progressive. So these are your other types of Christians. And I think this movement now, that got into power, is the type of Christian I was and that you married into.
Yeah.
That got into power. And it actually there's a larger number of those types of Christians in America, not the world, but in America, than the progressive Christian.
Yeah.
And that is how, but I think numbers are dying.
Well,
but we don't want necessarily progressive Christians to die down. I don't know if
you want to say that the actual physical numbers, as much as I think more people would be open to progressivism, but they've been shamed and scared into conservatism because the conservative mouth is so loud and so obnoxious and such bullies in how they operate that they force these people to outwardly show conservative values.
Yeah, probably not at the core. People, I think, if you pushed people enough. But how did the bully? Because I thought of us as the less than, like, there was less of us, and we actually took pride in that there was less people who believed like us, because the Bible said, like, broad is the way to hell, basically, and narrow is the path or the gate to heaven, right? And so we always thought the group that has the least amount is actually more closer to the truth than the group that has the larger amount.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that really came into fruition with us when we were in that really small church, because that made us feel better.
That's how they would.
We have less numbers. Yeah. Numbers usually meant you weren't as strong. You weren't very convicted in your teaching.
You weren't as zealous for Jesus as others, as we were.
Because the zealousy should scare people away. Mm-hmm. So
only those who are truly
the
believers
ones with the big numbers were lukewarm.
Yes, definitely there was that vibe.
Yeah.
And I remember it bothering me a little bit, because I'd be like, why don't we grow? But then I would just be like, growth is not about numbers. It's about growing in your character of godliness, right? And godliness meant obeying the rules even closer. So it got really restrictive. And in a way, I'm thankful for that little church, as terrible as it was, because it got so restrictive, we needed a way out.
Yeah.
It got so miserable, right? And even that church has kind of fallen apart, I think, too. I don't even know if it still runs.
Well, the people that ran it go to a completely different church with larger numbers in it.
Way larger numbers than
what they had.
Well, a church that almost could be, it's pretty big, the one that they do go to, compared to churches around here.
Yeah.
It's one of the bigger ones, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't know anything about that church.
Anyways, so you have these two types of Christians. And when we're pushing back against Christianity, it's pushing back against both those groups, isn't it?
When we currently are pushing back against
it? Do we need, when people say not all Christians, do we want to help encourage the Christians who are progressive.
And it's kind of our whole basis of where we come from. We're not opposed to people having beliefs.
No.
We're not opposed to people having
I don't
faith.
care if someone believes in Christianity. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say that I know for sure what they believe is not true. I don't believe it's true at all.
It's the systems that
I don't
we're
want you to
pushing
push it on me.
against.
Yeah, I don't want you pushing it on anybody.
When we say we're pushing against what type of Christian we're pushing against the Christian systems that are set up that teach,
that oppress,
sin nature, that teach purity culture and
purity culture, because it's sin nature. I mean, I agree that is a problematic dogma, right? But
it's a tool of guilt and shame.
And I don't know that do progressive Christians. I don't know. It'd just kind of be interesting to. And when I say there's two Jesus, I mean there's like two different, at least two. I think the
plural is Jesus.
Jesus. There's two. There's two Jesus. And I said that in a Facebook post one time because I said it's almost as if there's two Jesuses, and he was like, "What are you talking about?" No, because he's a conservative Christian. And I was like, "Not all Christians think like you. Not all Christians agree with what you're saying." Like, and then he didn't respond.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. You know, sometimes people get mad at people when they say not all Christians, because it's not kind of sounds like not all men, or, you know.
Yeah. Not all cops.
Yeah. I mean, which obviously is true.
Yeah.
But is it helpful just to throw out the word Christian, or should we start being more specific and saying conservative Christian, so that Christians even notice that there's more than one type, that they're not all the same. They're already split there, because I guarantee you, if these conservative Christians get ultimate power, progressive Christians are out.
Yeah, and then
they're not going to be considered Christians, and they will be persecuted.
And then the conservative Christians will keep paring that down.
Yeah, then they'll be like, what type of conservative? Are you Baptist? Are you evangelical? Are you fundamental? You know, and they'll fight over who they won't stand. It's a bully. They don't win. They're not going to win, but they might have power for a while. I mean, right now they do kind of have power, right?
A little bit.
It's weak and pathetic, but they have it.
Well, and the problem is people currently they don't have 100% control of the information. So there's dissenting voices still being heard that shows the lies that they're trying to propagate.
Yeah, but that's what I'm like get concerned about. Are they going to shush that?
They're trying to, but it's so tough anymore with modern technology.
Okay, so
So back in the 1940s, it was really easy.
Yeah, because there was only a few
it's still
TV
not
stations,
impossible
radio
because
stations.
you have places like Russia that have state-controlled media. But
does Russia still have access to the internet, though?
They do.
Well, you got VPNs too, or would they make it illegal to have VPNs?
It's restricted, so you have to. You're operating in the shadows, trying to get actual information outside of your state.
So it's considered like the black web or the dark web to them.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
That's really what it would do. We'd have to go onto the dark web, and it would we'd become criminals just for going on the internet to get information.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So, I mean, hopefully it doesn't ever get to that part, but far.
So currently, they're trying to control it. And I think the thing that will keep them, as long as we keep talking and voicing and others keep talking and spelling, showing what they observe, what they see, and just contradicting the facts that they're trying to put out. And that's what's happening a lot is they put out these facts and people are like, well, no, that doesn't seem to add up. What about this, this, and this? And they give examples and it's like, no, don't worry about that. That's, that's not anything. So they're trying to control the message as much as possible, but there's still enough out there of dissenting voices and opposition that.
Well, and now all these ideas are in our heads. They're not going anywhere. It's spreading because we can talk in person.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they start listening in, and it would have to become a very, what do you call that, a nanny state?
Not really a nanny state. It's a police state, more like it.
Police state. What's a nanny state then?
Nanny state's when the government takes care of everything.
Ah,
It was a fear tactic by Republicans when they said Democrats wanted to give all these social
I was thinking they would make
programs.
it socialism. They would call it that.
Yeah, they want to give all the social programs out to everyone so that they can tell you what's best and decide what's best in your life. So they were controlling everything. And the whole thing at that time was the Republicans were like, no, small government. We don't want a nanny state where the government's telling us what's best for
Yeah,
us.
it's funny how whenever liberals are in charge, the government's terrible. When they're in charge, the government's amazing.
Yeah.
Like you can have as much power as you want.
Instead of the truth of when either is in control, it's pretty shitty, but whatever.
I mean, quite honestly, we have survived all of it.
Yeah.
So far. So I'd like to keep that in mind as we're going through it. Like we've survived everything so far. We have survived it. And then, obviously you get the thoughts like this, it's never been this though. But when COVID hit, it'd never been that before.
Yeah.
Didn't know what was going to happen there. And we survived it. We got on the other side of it, for the most part. I remember when they thought like it was the end of the world in 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knew what was happening. It was so strange and scary because that was on our own soil.
Yeah.
And we survived it. So, I mean, that helps in my thought processes because I think of the subconscious as like, okay, we've done this. We've been through this. We've survived. We've survived. We've survived. That kind of helps calm down some things. But back to the two Christians. So I just wanted to ask you like what your thoughts were on there being two Christians or two types, because I've always struggled to kind of, because Christianity is so, there's so many denominations.
Let's rephrase this too. And this might help answer my side of it. There's two types of races too. You have what people would stereotypically call the South as the more outward.
They see the color of your skin and they think you're something less than.
But they're going to let you know. They're not going to hide it.
Yeah.
And
it's overt or covert.
Yeah. And the covert would be traditionally and stereotypically the North.
Yeah.
Where they still are just as racist, but
yeah, that's true.
They put on a mask.
Yeah.
So when you're dealing with these two types of Christians, as you defined it as progressive or conservative, conservative is just being outward and overt. The progressive is being a little more covert because they still have the systematic things behind them.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
So they're saying, oh, yes, we will welcome in the LGBTQ plus.
But then they don't let them lead or...
Yeah, they might set rules upon them. Now, there are a few that actually let them in and let them lead and operate freely within their church. But a lot of them are still teaching some of the dogma and dictates that we fled from. That there was reasons that they caused this, because it's not just this, oh, we're progressive, so we're accepting everyone and we're allowing everyone to come in. It's what's behind you and driving you in all this stuff. It's this control and manipulation, this idea of you have sin in your life, so you need to repent, and you need to come to church every week. You need to repent of your sins. You need to feel the shame and the guilt. We need to push this out. And in a progressive church, maybe the shame and guilt is, are you really being open to your LGBTQ brother and sister? And causing you shame and guilt there if you feel like you haven't been as open as you should be.
But in a way, shouldn't shame... Because shame can be a tool, right? Like if someone's being bigoted, they should feel shame.
When you put your eternal destiny.
Or when you say like God's, or I would say not in, like maybe not the example that you gave, but more like, are you really, let's say somebody doesn't have an electric car. Are you really caring for the planet like God said? If you have a gas-powered car, maybe that kind of way might be more of the shame. You know what I'm saying? Where they would.
Yeah. But if you still have the whole basic concept of Christianity, which is you have to believe this to get into heaven, otherwise you're going to be tormented and punished eternally
if
for
you're
hell.
preaching like a hell.
No matter what your views on LGBTQ, your views on abortion, your views on immigration, your views on anything, if you still have a heaven and hell attachment, I'm going to be pushing against you. Because that is a giant tool of manipulation.
But then what about...
It is probably the biggest thing that we could look back on and say, that teaching, that concept was the biggest mind fuck
of hell? Yeah.
that we ever had. Because you scared us, you placed fear in us to control us, to manipulate us to go in this direction that you decided was true.
Yeah.
And your rules and tenets.
And then you shamed us for saying it wasn't true and not believing us. You basically told us we were in threat of.
Yeah.
What are you doing there, Dan? That should be our sponsor. Those little breathe sticks. Boom, boom, I think they're called.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to do this for the crowd out there so they don't hear me.
Well, the people on video, it looks like you're doing drugs or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Call me Eric Trump or Don Jr. Sorry. But so you tie that into it, that heaven and hell, that causes a lot of mental anguish.
Yeah.
And that also then leads to black and white thinking inside your theology.
Yeah.
This is right. This is wrong.
Okay, but even Mormons who don't believe in a hell would fall into this.
Yeah.
Because they believe in a type of hell, and in that there's a heaven that some people are going to live way better than others.
They have celestial realms. So this is like, this is the lower deck of the cruise ship.
So there's still arrogance in that. They're trying to be the best. Up
here is the best suites possible.
Yeah, they're trying to, all of this is trying to lord it over somebody else, which is exactly what Jesus said. That doesn't happen in the kingdom of God. Remember when his disciples were like, who's going to sit at your right hand? Like, who's going to be in that high position? And he was like, that's what that's how things are run here. That's not the way it is in the kingdom of God. You don't you're equal basically to one another. Yeah. You don't get to lord it over one another. So why is heaven this Lord? Because even the idea of heaven and hell, the people in heaven want to lord it over the people in hell. Or forget about them altogether, right? Another thing to comfort those who are distraught by this idea. I remember this being like, how can I enjoy heaven? I remember asking that question. How can I enjoy heaven knowing my loved ones are being tortured? Yeah. Like, I won't be able to be happy.
Well, and not only did you ask that to yourself, you asked that to your parents.
No, I asked people that. Yes. Yeah. I asked that when I was a kid. And the answer I got was, he will erase the memory of them from your mind. And that made me just as sad because I didn't want to forget them.
Yeah, there's always some convenient out, some convenient loophole that gets you through it. Because I remember that different things you think about the sins that you'd commit as a kid. And I remember thinking, like when my grandma died, and I was sitting there, and after that, and soon after that, I was like, wait a minute, can she see me and see what I'm doing? So when I'm being a naughty little boy, is this what she's seeing? And how can that be glorious time in heaven if she can see down?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that.
Well, and then they would say that I never was taught. I was always taught they couldn't see you.
Yeah.
But then there's like reference to a cloud of witnesses, and I remember that was like, who's that?
We were taught, and it was more of I think it was more of a scare tactic, like Santa Claus. Grandma's up there watching you all the time. So
did they say that to you?
I'd hear it every now and then.
Ours would be like, God is watching. Yeah, but that was a.
But we didn't have a personal relationship with God. We had it with Grandma. So Grandma was our God. Maybe in your life. But. You had thoughts like that all the time of, you're in I mean, you're putting that person through a personal hell and yourself through a
Yeah,
hell.
that's true.
Because I don't want grandma
So then you're
seeing
both
me
in
being
hell,
naughty. Grandma always had this great
but it
image
might
of me.
keep you in check.
Yeah.
But then in your heart, you might want to do something naughty, but you don't, or quote unquote naughty, but you don't because
Yeah.
grandma's watching you and you want to please grandma. You
Yeah.
know, you don't want to hurt grandma, but that, which is actually very loving. You're choosing to go against what you want to do because you love her and you're trying to protect the image she has of you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that's interesting because you're actually not doing it. Sometimes it's a little kid. Now, as an adult, you know, I don't know this. Yeah, you're right. Hell is a very heaven and hell creates an otherness right off the bat because some are going to heaven and some are going to hell. And all these Protestant churches, and guys, there are tens of thousands of Protestant denominations, tens of thousands. Some people say like maybe even up to like 40,000. I don't know.
Yeah.
But any more than one isn't unified, right?
No.
I mean, it's so fractured. Like, how do you know which one is true? And I don't know if any of you have ever asked yourself that, or Dan, I don't know if you have, but I asked myself lots of times, like, how do I know this is the right one? And my mom said this to me. This wasn't that long ago. She's like, I used to always ask myself, like, how do I know it's the right one? And then I said to her, yeah, how do you? And she was like, I don't know, but I found it.
Yeah.
I was like, how do you know that you found it? Like, you don't know that the one that you believe is right. You might be wrong.
Yeah.
So, or maybe they're all wrong and maybe it's something completely different.
Yeah.
You know? And I said that to her. I was like, they might all be wrong and it could be something completely different than any of them.
Yeah.
Do you really think the divine would make it that hard that you'd have to pick which one out of thousands and thousands and thousands of them, but you got to pick the exact right one? I was like, man, he's finicky.
And you were just lucky enough that you were born in the town you were born into to fall underneath the preacher that you fell
and
underneath.
The time in history
and the
that
time
where
in
it would
history
actually
that you
be
fell
preached that
into,
way.
That you got. It's almost like regional and just this bias of because it's me and I feel it to be true, then it's got to be the one.
Well, there's churches that we went to that if you didn't believe in the rapture, you weren't really a Christian, or you were in danger of being on the wrong side of Christianity, or on of God's favor, let's just say.
Yeah.
And the rapture, that idea, that whole concept didn't even come around until the 1800s by a guy after some little girl's vision or whatever that he wrote it down. He made up this whole story. Darby, I think his name was, 1850s maybe.
Yeah.
So before that, was nobody the right kind of Christian? You know what I'm saying? Like, did they all of a sudden in the 1850s, now the right kind of Christian can exist? It doesn't even make sense. And they think that when I said that there was no rapture, when I said that's not even biblical, if they could have put me on the spigot and burnt me, some people would have done it. And it's ridiculous because it didn't exist. They think it's the original belief.
Yeah. And it never was.
No, it's not. It's taking a scripture verse that says something about being caught up in the air and turning it into a whole doctrine.
Yeah.
And it's become the main one in our area anyways, or at least in the teachings, the circles I was in growing up.
Was another tool of control.
It's so obvious that it was a cult.
You could have gone through life thinking nothing about Jesus' return, whether he's coming in the future or he already came, and just had to worry about hell. But now we got a new and improved tool.
Yeah, now we know
Jesus could be coming at any second.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of the old Pete Holmes joke. He was he was driving down the road and he saw a billboard and it said, "The rapture's coming, just whatever, June 4th, 2018. And he's like, "Oh, geez, all right." And he's living in LA at the time or something and didn't think much of it. And then one day he was he's at home and he's getting ready to take care of himself, shall we say. And it was June 18th. And I think the sign said June 18th at 6 p.m. Jesus is coming back. And it was like June 18th at 5:59. And that flashback in his mind, he says, "Not today, the devil." And he stopped. So he stopped his action because that was the time Jesus was going to come back.
I wonder if it got past and he was like,
all right, back at it. So the fear being that, Christ is going to come back and you're sitting there with your dick in your hand.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, sorry.
God'd be like, not you, buddy. Look what you doing.
What's going on here?
I mean, I remember that
it was a little ashy.
Oh, God. Always worried about that kind of stuff as a kid, too. Like, what if I had just said something mean to somebody? If I had lied or if I had done that and I hadn't asked for forgiveness.
As a kid, too, because we had confession in Catholicism.
Did Catholics believe in a rapture?
Yeah.
They do. Something like that.
It wasn't taught a lot, but yeah. But I remember because you have your confessions you're supposed to go, and that cleanses your soul, and then you're ready. You're good at that moment. And then you have last rites right before you die, the priest comes in and absolves you of all your sins, conscious or unconscious, whatever. They cleanse you. Mm-hmm. So I remember thinking to myself as a kid of, what if I hadn't been to confession for a while and I happened to die without a priest around and I had all these sins on my soul? Was I going to go to purgatory or hell? Because of this. It was just this worry about it as a kid of.
Look at what we spent our childhood, the thoughts we were entertaining is sad. Yeah. Like that should not be in a child's head. A kid should not be consumed with the afterlife.
No.
A kid should just be living in the very present moment. And most of the time
we consumed about death,
Yeah, that shouldn't be something that I don't think it's bad for kids to understand death because it's part of the life cycle. It's part of it. Like I think if we talk about it
they shouldn't be
matter of factly
for their death at every minute of their life.
And I don't know that they were preparing. They're preparing for the afterlife.
Well, they're preparing for their death so that they can get into the right afterlife.
Yes. Yeah, and it's life isn't about living right in the moment.
No,
it's about a future. Life is like a box of chocolates, but not about a box of chocolates. But it is really about.
Sorry, Forrest.
Don't screw up Forrest lines. It's really about life. Afterwards, like this present life isn't it.
No, yeah.
And I don't know if it was like that for you as a Catholic child, but as an evangelical,
no.
This was like.
I don't have many
training
memories.
For.
Yeah, I don't recall many memories of this isn't worth it because I kind of, as a kid, was living in the moment a lot of times, and I'd have them intrusive Christian thoughts of, oh no, am I going to go to hell? Did I do it right? Well, for the most part, I was just living life as a kid.
Yeah, and see, whereas.
But you were in this strict
I had
evangelical.
moments of living life as a kid, especially when I was with my grandparents when I was little.
I guarantee I had more.
Oh, you had way more. And you had less intrusive thoughts about, like we had times where we would all sit around as a family and talk about the rapture and how wonderful it would be to escape.
What was the movie you watched? The black and white one?
No, this wasn't black and white.
Or no, the one where they're cutting off people's heads.
Oh, Thief in the Night. Anybody remember that? That there was a whole series. That show scared the crap out of me. We should watch it on here and do it in.
I'm working on trying to figure out how to do something like that.
Because that would be, I don't know if I could handle it though. I don't know I guess I could, but it would probably there'd be some triggers that would come up because I remember, but I could also probably see through how silly somebody's car or something.
Motorcycle.
Yeah.
Jeez, damn neighbors. We're recording. You should know this. Every week at this time. But yeah, so I mean, you had a lot of actual fear and stuff put into you. I mean, I remember I was like 7 or 8 and watched The Exorcist with my dad. He thought
we would have never been allowed to watch that because it was demons. It
and
would
that scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Well,
that would.
That was possession, which was a big Catholic thing of devil possession.
Which we learned about devil possession too. But a Christian couldn't be demon possessed.
Yeah, you had what's his nuts? The guy that was always
Bill
Bob Larson.
Bob Larson.
Yeah, casting out demons all day long.
Yeah, talking on there's a radio show, where he would talk to him, and I found it interesting because I wanted to hear how the demons sounded. Sometimes I would kind of chuckle because it sounded so weird, some guy just going.
Remember that one night?
I'm a demon.
Remember that one night you thought you had goat eyes and had a demon inside you? You're like, man, I have a demon. Listen, I'm the demon. I'm the demon.
I had an edible that day. Okay, so.
That was you had too much.
But yeah, that's the type of Christianity that I grew up in, and I don't know how relatable that is. I mean,
I think it's probably more. If you look at it for what it is,
it's very cult-like when you look backwards.
It's fear-based.
It is.
Everything is on fear. And go back to your two Christians. If they have a theology that's fear-based, which would mean if they have a theology that has a heaven or hell, you have a fear-based theology.
Yeah.
Because
if there's any type of punishment that could be coming.
Of eternal punishment. And everything that was coming in, all these movies, The Thief in the Night, The Exorcist, these intrusive thoughts, all this added up that we just talked about is all fears that we had as young kids of where we were going to go, which is extremely fucked up because that's our developmental years. So you, as the psychologist PhD,
what?
In your formative years, if you are just concentrated on fear a lot of the time, what is that going to do to you for the rest of your life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's programming. Did you mean to say since I know about the subconscious?
Yeah, your PhD in psychology.
No, I do not have a PhD in psychology, dear God. Not that I wouldn't want one. I don't know, it'd be a lot of schooling I'd have to do. But yeah, it's, I like to read all the psychology stuff for sure. I read up on it all the time, but it is definitely, it's programming you and it is running your life until you pay attention and you know what's going on. You recognize it. You got to become aware that it's in there and that you are living your life out of a fear of a future. And you kind of have this feeling, I've kind of struggled a lot of my life with this. When I'm in a good space, when is the other shoe going to fall?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a symptom of that kind of thinking because it's honestly, like hell has to come. You can't enjoy us too much here.
And when we deconstructed, how many people that we knew from the faith were waiting, and they're still waiting for that other shoe to fall?
Oh, probably.
Most of them
they want it to for us because it will bring us back to that belief system.
Yeah. It's always when most people can probably relate to this. If someone you knew and loved, or if, like a family member or something, left the faith, you prayed for a hedge of thorns around them to make their life miserable so that they would come crawling back to the faith, seeing how much they needed it in their life. And when we haven't come crawling back,
casting a spell or something.
When we haven't crawled back yet, and everything seems to be continually getting better day by day, because I guarantee they thought our relationship is going to fall apart, that our finances were going to fall apart, that everything in our life was going to go to shit, and nothing has. We've had ups and downs. It's a faucet. It's a faucet outside. I left the sprinkler on out front, so Reese is shutting it off.
Oh, okay. I was like, why does it keep squeaking?
It's a mouse, giant mouse. But you'd always pray for that hedge to be put upon them to make them suffer, so that they understand that this is what happens when you're outside of God's umbrella.
I remember people praying for like abortion doctors. I think I've said this on here too.
Their hands to shrivel up.
Yeah, their hands. I remember that because I was like, I remember even thinking like that. It seems like witchcraft a little bit to me.
Yeah.
Because it seems like a spell that you're placing on somebody, right?
Well, it's not shit. Fucking modern Christendom, and how many And it's always assigned to the ladies, so we'll go with that stereotype. How many Christian ladies are now into essential oils?
I know, which is witchcraft. Now, that's really what was considered witchcraft.
Yeah.
Was women who knew how to heal with herbs and a lot of this.
Who's herb?
With herbs. I didn't say with herb. Listen.
Herb.
So they knew how to practice medicine.
Yeah.
Using natural things. And actually, I kind of think, don't quote me on this, but I think like the medical field came out of the pushback against that and it'd be more man-centered, where it was, like,
well, I think originally
how it got to like big pharma and stuff like that. And now
for that, a little history here, when you're looking at like the Salem witch trials and all that, your way of cure was through diligent prayer and the miraculous healing of God.
Yeah, you had to wait on God to do it.
Actually took proactive measures and started eating roots and drinking oils, and
that was
actually
witchy
doing
stuff.
Medicinal stuff. That was witchcraft and was taking the power of God away. So you had to be tortured.
Yeah.
Then eventually, I think companies started realizing, hey, these people have a fucking gold mine on their hands.
Yeah, and it started though with snake oil salesmen that were like selling whether it was real or not. A lot of times it was just made up stuff. Oh, and that's that power of suggestion.
Yeah,
you'd hypnotize people basically. Yeah. You could get them to that's the placebo effect. It works.
And then that grew into pharmaceutical companies.
Yes, which was very like male dominated. Yeah. And Eastern or Western kind of medicine came out of that. And not to say that there hasn't been some good that has come out of Western medicine, like surgery and the pharmaceutical. There are good pharmaceuticals. There really are. Yeah. But there are so many benefits to natural plants. But we... and now it's almost dumbed down into like these Christian women in these MLMs where they're selling, probably a watered down, maybe.
Careful, that's our sponsor.
I don't know if it's watered down or not, but like now essential oils is like, oh, that's silly. Essential oils are not silly. They really do have benefits. There is benefits to essential oils from plants and stuff. We are made of the same stuff as the earth. So why wouldn't the stuff of the earth actually heal our body and help it? But because we've bought into it in the West that no, you got to go get a drug. We're so caught in that type of thinking, it's very hard for us to shift or to be open to both.
It's easier and a quicker, more tangible.
It is quicker
from the symptom.
I will agree.
So we have people we know that have diabetes, and instead of actually changing their diet and trying to, because a lot of times, well, I'm speaking out of pocket.
You are. There
are examples where people have switched their eating style.
What you eat greatly affects your health.
And their diabetes receded, almost, and sometimes to nothing. But
some people will say that's impossible, but yes, like their numbers were good. Examples. Their numbers were healthy, and because what you are what you eat, for real. You really are. Yeah. What you're putting into your body, and we say that not being arrogant and saying we eat perfectly, because we do not.
No,
but it's like
I'm evidence of that.
That makes a it has an effect.
Because I could go for a chocolate malt right now.
But you have to also keep in mind that you can go to an extreme with that too. Yeah. You can go to an extreme where you become, this is a new religion now. You have to eat, and if you do not eat this, then you are bad, and something's bad about you, and something bad's going to happen to you. That's the same type of thing. Instead, everything is neutral, really, but be wise. Like, put things in your body that actually belong.
I was kind of getting to is these people get these pills or pumps or whatever for diabetes, and we know people that I told you before where he's like, all right, and he hits his pump 15 times. And then says, go give me a couple Snickers bars. I'm all insulined up.
Well, and I know, but we also have to think here, okay, because this comes off real judgy.
No, I'm saying this is kind of the mindset.
I agree with what you're saying, but it does come across judgy because we have never known what it's like to be like, you can't ever have this.
What I'm not saying is not judgy. This is what's come across to people. It's easier
It
till you
is
get a
easier.
pharmaceutical.
I will agree with you. It's easier to do.
Where
like,
if you were to use a more natural cure on something,
Yeah.
it's going to take more time.
like,
It's going to have, it's a re-regulation and recentering of the body.
well, like with ADHD, I have taken the pharmaceuticals. No, I'm not going to get distracted. I have taken the pharmaceuticals and they work. I will say they work. Okay. I did feel more focused. There was benefits to that, right?
Yeah.
But I am the type of person, I just really don't like using that kind of like chemicals in my body. I like to use more natural stuff. I've always kind of been that way. I don't know why, because my mom wasn't like that. I'm trying to think if my dad was. I don't know. I just prefer, I don't judge people who choose it. I just prefer for myself. I'm trying to look for supplements, things that are natural. And I found supplements that help, but they do take longer. It takes months of taking it to really go, oh, yeah, I do notice that because it happens so subtly. The change, when it is natural, it's kind of like hypnosis. Hypnosis can be real dramatic very quick because sometimes clients will go, oh, my goodness, like their life has changed one session, right? But then a lot of them, you'll have them, it's slow. Like you have to have them look back after 4 or 5 weeks and go, do you notice how different you feel from 5 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Because it's so subtle. It's just small shifts, small shifts, small shifts, small shifts until you're actually thinking better, acting better, feeling better.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with these supplements. So it's the same thing with anything that is more natural. It works with your body instead of like acting on your body.
Yeah.
So yes, those things are quick, but they have a lot of side effects. And the natural things have a lot less side effects, if any.
Yeah. Unless you're allergic to them.
Yeah.
But you had one that what was it? Rose hips or something like that.
I don't remember.
It was something you were taking for cramping or something. It was rose something or other. And you were taking it for a little while. Then all of a sudden you're like, this is happening to me. And I don't know why. And then you looked it up and it was because of that.
Oh, and I just stopped it. I've had that. I've had it with a few supplements where I'm like, I'm having this strange, but you know what else? It makes you pay attention to your body and you're paying attention to what you put in your body because you're like, does it have to do with that? When I do this, this happens. And you start to notice the pattern.
Yeah.
But you have to pay attention. It's another way where you don't get to be lazy.
No.
And it seems like, at least in America, I don't know if it's all the West, but we're just lazy with a lot of things. We're lazy with our belief system. Let's tell me what to believe and I'll believe it, okay? We're lazy with like our jobs. Like women, like you get into Christianity, especially women, you can be this, this, or this. You can be a teacher, you can be a nurse, you can be a mom, or whatever. Like everybody needs to try to be a mom and wife, but you can be a teacher or a nurse. I mean, there's very few jobs. Let's like limit everything down. And men, they have a lot more options, but it's still, we just get lazy with our relationships. Men do this and then your wife will be happy. Mm-hmm. You don't really have to talk about it. You don't really have to see like, here's the roles, you be this and you do this. And then you have a perfect relationship. You wait till you're married and then it'll be perfect, and all these things instead of like, it's not. Life is messy. There's ups, there's downs, and you have to like communicate. You have to get your hands dirty. It's the same thing with everything. Yeah. Takes some sort of effort, but there's also pleasure in that effort. Yeah. If you talk with one another in a relationship, you actually grow closer to each other.
So to kind of tie this back and put a bow on it, that kind of applies to the two types of Christians thing also. Because if you're going to be in this system of Christianity and try to act black and white on everything and have a knowledge of good and evil, this is good always, this is evil always. That's lazy thinking. Mm-hmm. Because what we're doing is these two types of Christians that you put out there. It's not that we can say all the conservatives are bad and all the progressives are good. Mm-hmm. It's all gray still. So we have to dive into that actual individual and get to know them
And understand why they believe what they believe.
See where they're going and what they follow.
The choices they make.
And why are you making this choice and why do you believe like this? And why are you following in this system? And understand that you can believe whatever you want. You can fully believe in Jesus Christ and not be a Christian. Because I think there was a lot of good messaging in the Bible. A lot of good stories.
I believe Jesus was a person that existed. I just don't believe we need to worship him. I don't believe he was anything more than we are.
Yeah.
He was pushing back against the system, just like I feel we're doing.
Yeah.
No different.
The church leaders,
especially the religious mindset.
Mindset of the people.
The power structures.
Yeah. So we have to take it as an individual basis. We just can't say all progressives are good and all conservatives are the bad ones. No, I think you'll find that there might be more on one side of that you're gonna find less good ones.
Well, it also depends on how you define good. Some people define good as someone who tells people there's a hell because they believe it's true. You see, it's all about perspective, really.
Yeah. So to sit here and say it's all good or all bad is very lazy. Christianity is extremely lazy.
It is. It's very lazy.
Following and being a believer and following in a congregation and just being in there is extremely lazy mentally. You're probably doing a lot of physical stuff. You might be cleaning bathrooms.
It's got this Costanza effect. You know how Costanza was like in Seinfeld was always rushing around looking, oh man, he's like, do this, like just act so frustrated. And then but you're really doing nothing and people will think you're busy. Yeah, that's Christianity.
Well, Christianity, I mean, you're probably cleaning toilets, doing landscaping.
You're doing a whole lot of things.
Setting up churches, taking down chairs. You're doing all the physical stuff. But mentally, you're just saying, feed me. Give me what I need to know. And you're going to sit here and say,
I'm waiting for the afterlife.
All these people are giving me, all these other people are giving milk. We're getting meat here. Come to our church. We serve meat.
And what was meat?
That was the good teaching.
Okay, and it was just going, for us, it was preachers who preached verse by verse. They said they were preaching the meat.
For a while there it was,
And the people who were preaching not meat, who were not giving meat, were preaching thought by thought or whatever the other one was.
Yeah, ideas, themes, and all this. But it's extremely mentally lazy because you're really not doing the work. You're not going out, and I know if there happens to be a Christian listening to this, be like, bullshit, dude. Oh, I'm sorry. HE double hockey sticks wrong with you, boy, because I'm doing all this mental thinking. I'm reading over this. We know people that read the Bible over and over and over, have reams of notes that could fill rooms of houses on Bible and don't know shit about the Bible.
No, you can ask them questions specifically about a certain story and they will not know that to be true.
Their whole study and all the notes is based off what they were told by a pastor at one time and what they want to believe.
Or what they want to believe.
It's just confirming what they want to believe. They're not willing to challenge and go outside of it. The faith is weak.
They're not wrestling with the ideas and the thoughts that are being taught.
They can't stand up to challenges of any sort, kind, or anything like that. It's extremely mentally weak to do it. Just like anything else that you don't put the effort into. If you don't put the effort into living life, you're going to have a weak sauce life.
I mean, really, yeah.
So, carpe diem, people, seize the day. My captain, my captain. You have no idea what I'm talking about, do you?
Carpe diem, seize the day, my captain, my captain. No, what's it from?
Dead Poets Society.
Oh, I've seen that show too. That's a good show.
It is. So,
I don't remember the line.
Yeah, it's about doing the actual work. So the actual work is going out and saying, instead of saying, well, these Christians are good because they're progressive and at least they're somewhat in line, and these are bad, is saying, hey, you may be progressive, but are you still propagating fear to control people? Are you putting fear in people's life instead of joy? Are you focusing on the next step before enjoying the step you're on now? It's like our kids that they don't do as much as they used to, but we'd be eating lunch and hell, we might just be cooking lunch and it'd be, well, what's for dinner? It's like, we haven't even had lunch yet. Why are you worried about dinner? Let's enjoy right now on the lunch.
Because they didn't like lunch. That's why.
this ham and cheese sandwich you're going to get with a string cheese and
that's a lot of cheese they're getting there.
Yeah, well,
ham and cheese, a string cheese.
We're trying to conserve toilet paper around here. We're still in COVID ways. But, that's what Christians are doing when their whole focus is on what's after this life.
Mm-hmm.
Stop and enjoy this one. This is the one you're given.
This is the only
guaranteed thing you have.
The only thing you know is this right now. Yeah. That's the only thing you have is this right now moment. The past is over, and who knows if it even happened the way you believe it happened. The future, you don't know what's going to come, but you have this moment right now, and we tend to waste it. In Christianity, you're taught like it's not important, and the only place that's important is right now. That's all that really matters is right now. How are you being? Not how are you doing, but how are you being in this moment right now? And if you want to change, how are you being?
How you being?
Then you have to change in the moment right now. Yeah. You don't wait for it. But in Christianity, you're taught to wait. Everything will be better in the future. I can, in a way, it gives you hope through hard times. I will give it that. But it doesn't
also gives
make you
hard
embrace.
Times and
it gives you hard times in the middle of times that could be really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can't see the good because you're so busy. And I know this because it affected like so many things, which was the other subject that we had talked about.
Go ahead, finish.
Which was the other subject we had talked about is just how Christianity, the things it robs you of. And, I just think it robs you of, it affected my parenting, which I wish I wouldn't have parented them that way. I wish I could go back and do it over again. Sometimes I will hear a child crying in a store, and my heart just like aches for the child, because now I'm thinking of it as when I was a mom, and it's hard when you're a mom and you're sleep deprived and everything. You're like, stop, but I was so consumed with the image of how my children behaved because that meant something.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it was a subconscious programming, but I knew that underneath I could feel it. Like I didn't want to be judged by other parents as a bad mom, right? I also didn't want to be a bad mom, but I didn't know how to be a good mom because I didn't have any examples of it. I had examples of, make your kids obey you. And I didn't always follow the rules. And, there was some gentle parenting going on, even when I shouldn't have been gentle parenting, according to my rulers, leaders, whatever. But I did do some of the things they suggested, and I wish I wouldn't have done them.
Yeah.
So it like stole the beauty in parenting. But once we deconstructed, like I feel like I've become a better mom to the kids, So I don't know. There's a lot of things that stole, but that's one of them.
Yeah, that's a topic for another day.
Yeah.
So, but it's just, you have to do the work if you want to enjoy it. There's no sense in postponing what could be enjoyed now. We know people that show up to events and they're worried at these events, and it should be a party, a celebration. And they're worried because there's people here that don't know Jesus, and we need to save them and witness to them and make them see our belief system so that they can be in heaven someday enjoying that. Mm-hmm. And it's like, enjoy the moment, enjoy what's going on here, not worry about the eternity of people's souls. Because they don't want to talk to you about it right now.
I know. But see, even there, I have a softness for the person who feels that way because they do genuinely care.
They do. And that's the thing is they got their care in the wrong place.
I know.
But they should be caring about getting another chicken wing and a beer.
They should be caring about how the people feel after the interaction with them. Yeah. But instead, they care about how they feel. Did I do what I was supposed to do according to God's rules? Instead of caring about the other person, like how will they feel? Instead of enjoying
the day for the day.
Did they enjoy the experience? Yeah.
They were worried about whether or not God was going to enjoy the day.
Yes, because they are programmed that way. And so I have a lot of compassion for people in that space, but I also...
You're an empath.
I just because I was one of those people, but I also...
Yeah.
It's sad.
So, anyways, so yeah, two types of Christians is great, but you still got to do the work and break them down and see what truly is behind there and ticking and clicking behind.
So there
them.
are some Christians that
there definitely
you
are.
can be a Christian and
Yeah.
you can be anti against what's happening in our government right now.
Yeah.
And you can see it for what it is. And you can be non-bigoted and you can be non-racist and you can still believe in
You can still believe in Jesus and all that.
Jesus and that everybody will go to heaven but I think, where it gets tripped up is if you believe some are going to hell and some are going to heaven, that type of thinking is that's causing our problems.
That's thinking.
That's the stinking thinking. And it's at the heart of a lot of the issues because there's an othering going on.
Yep. So there we go. There's a reverse stone as presented by Candy. So we went from a fight and argument to that. Anyways, you remember the beginning of the episode?
Should we just still be fighting? Is that what you think should be happening?
We're going to continue this after the cameras go up. Just kidding, folks. We're good. That's how we have arguments. We go over it and then we start a podcast and that takes care of all the argument.
So he hopes.
Please. All right, we're going to stay on the air for a while. Go to our website, danacan.com. It's got everything related to us on there. The links to the podcast where you can listen to it on all platforms and YouTube. It's got Candy's stuff on there with her Transform Life. Book a session with her. Go to her Substack. Go to our blogs.
I'm kind of switching things to Transform Life is the podcast. Candid Hypnotherapy is the name of the overall.
Yeah, you'll see it on the website.
Yeah.
It'll all make sense there. It's a beautiful thing Candy built all by herself. So go look at it.
It's
enjoy
simple and basic, but
give her all the praise she deserves.
No.
And also go up and rate us 5 stars. 5 stars and you're one of the good Christians. Progressive. 4
stars not a Christian
or less.
At all.
4 stars or left, you're conservative.
Probably. I can almost guarantee if anybody gives us less than 5 stars or gives that's not even true, but anybody who gives us a 1 star is probably conservative.
It's probably someone that has issues against us personally.
Or someone who has a personal problem with us.
So,
for other reasons, which is possible too. Yeah.
So do that for us. We'd appreciate it greatly. If you're on YouTube, hit that smash that like button, hit that subscribe button. We appreciate all the followers there. And you know what we always say?
Listen to us.
Candy's got the steering wheel and didn't drive us off a cliff. She drove us down the happy highway of life and knowledge and learning.
Because I'm a good
educating
driver.
ourselves. She's a good driver. Thank you, Raymond. Bye.
Bye.